All right, so we got Coach Walsh here from Southern Maine Community College to answer a few questions about his program and also to help our families out there. We got our young college prospects out there watching who really need some good advice if they're going to do this process correctly over the next couple of years of their high school career. So, Coach Walsh, thanks for joining us today. All right, so the first question I got for you, I think one of my favorite things about being involved in baseball is that all the people I meet in the baseball community, they all have their own unique baseball background and like how they've made their journey, their successes and their failures. So I guess first, just tell these young players out there, what is your baseball background? What's your baseball story, and how did it lead to
Yeah,
Southern Maine
so I'm
Community
from Boston,
College?
Massachusetts. I played high school ball there. I did play 4 years of college baseball at Husson University for one of the greatest coaches ever in college baseball under John Winken. He's in the Hall of Fame. Also a former ABCA president, also Hall of Fame member, which is College Coaches Association. Played for him for 4 years. Went to Georgia. Continued to play ball for a couple years after that. When ball was done for me playing-wise, I came back home. I had graduated with a degree in sports management. Did some odd and end jobs for a little bit, and then decided, I wanted to get back into baseball because I missed it. And so my athletic director from the high school that I graduated from reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in taking the head coaching position of that high school. I did. I took a program that was kind of on the back end of its run. And for 6 years, I coached there, and we made it to 5 state tournaments in my 6 years, which was quite a run for us. And we were able to – the more important thing is guys were not going to play college baseball from that high school since my graduating class. So we were fortunate enough in our 6 years to have 18 kids go play college baseball, which was awesome for that. And then from there, I decided, I did 6 years of high school ball. I wanted to try to get into college baseball. So I reached out to a program in Boston that was having their inaugural season, and they already had their head coach, but I wanted to get involved and reached out to him. And the head coach at the time was Anthony Leonelli. He hired me as a hitting instructor for his college program. And then within 3 months of me being there, I was promoted to the associate head coach. And then from there, I was there for a full season. And then I went to Iowa, and I was in the Midwest coaching independent pro ball and for 2 summers. And then I was looking to get back into college baseball. So I applied for the SMCC assistant coaching position in 2018 for the fall. I got hired. I was brought in for the fall, mostly to work with hitters. And after the fall season had ended, I had another opportunity to go back into coaching independent professional baseball. But my athletic director, Matt Richards, asked if there was any way that I could stay at SMCC. And I told him if we could find a way for me to be the head coach of the program, and I would stay. And he did. So and this is where I'm at as the head coach at SMCC.
All right, so next question I got for you. So fill us in on Southern Maine's program. How have you all performed in recent years, and how has the program grown and changed since you've arrived?
Yeah, so we are first and foremost, we're in the USCAA. Okay, that's our nation's conference. That's our affiliation. So we have no affiliation with the NCAA or the NJCAA. Okay, so we have our own nation's conference. And in baseball, there's 40 baseball teams in the nation's conference. And it's mixed up between community colleges and 4 years. So sometimes if we go outside of our conference play and play non-conference teams in the USCAA, sometimes we're playing 4-year schools. And that's okay because we're not affiliated with the NJCAA. So that's first and foremost. We're part of the USCAA. When I took over as head coach in 2018, our first year, we were 29-9. And we went to the USCAA Small College World Series. That was the school's first time making an appearance in 8 years. We also were the number 1 team in the USCAA in offensive production and in pitching. We also had the number 1 pitcher in the country at the time. and we had the number one catcher in the country at the time. And that was our first year. We went to the College World Series, and we got to experience what that was like. And then, so I also had a team when I first took over of a roster size that was about 18 to 20, and we brought in a couple extra guys because in college, realistically, you want a 30 to 32 man roster. So we were kind of on the low end of that when I inherited the program. So then my first year of my first class, so it would be 2019 to this 2020 that we're in right now. Our first week of trials, we had 45 guys, and we kept third. We had 30 guys on the roster. Before the pandemic, we were 13-7. That's how we ended this year. But we were again in the top categories again in offense, top categories again in pitching, and so we were off to a good start, and I felt like we were going to have another successful season. And now we're working on bringing in the guys that we for this fall coming up right now to prepare for our 2020-2021 season. So.
Next question here. I know, you've been at Southern Maine for a couple years now, so reflect a little bit and tell me, what is your favorite moment so far as coach of Southern Maine?
Favorite moment? There's been quite a few good moments, but I would have to say, my favorite moment was this year, and why I bring this up is because of the significance of everything that has been going on thus far this year with the pandemic. Is we're down in Myrtle Beach. It's the last game of the season for us, which technically we knew, but technically we didn't know. And the boys the night before had just heard that the NBA shut down their season, and then hockey followed suit. So they put 2 and 2 together, and we were going home the next day from Myrtle Beach, but we had a game first. And, we were in a battle against a very good junior college team out of New Jersey. It was back and forth all game. And, we got into the 7th inning, and, we went up 1 in the top, and then in the bottom of the 6th, we went up 1, and they came back and scored 2 on us in the top of the 7th. So now we're down 1 going into the bottom of the 7th. And I just grabbed the guys together and just said to them, hey, let's just get after it. Don't stop grinding. You guys have been fighting this whole entire game. And, we get the first guy on with a base hit. We pinch run. We get a stolen base to second. Now we got a walk. And then we have our number 2 hitter up who's been hot all tournament. And they do a mound visit. I take an offensive timeout. I go talk to him. And I tell him, hey, you've been wagging your hands all game. That's why you're just missing the fastball. Control your hands. Just hit the ball hard. See the fastball, get after it. He sees the ball, fastball. He hits a ball into the gap for a walk-off triple. And the video that we have of it, the reason why it's so special to me is I'm now rounding the winning run to home, but now I'm focused on the runner at third to control him to stay on the bag. He just comes right for me, picks me up, starts going crazy, and the whole bench clears. That's how we ended our season. That was the season right there.
What do practices, training regiments, lifting, and film analysis look like for your players in your program?
Yeah, so we start in the fall right away because we play the USCAA allows us to utilize some of our games in the fall. So we actually compete and play countable games in the fall that carry over into the spring. So what we look like in the fall is we'll generally show up probably a week and a half earlier than the regular population for school, and we'll start practicing right away. Our practices, consist of group work, a lot of group work. I'm very big on developing the player-coach relationship. I'm a big believer in if you can develop that portion first, then you have something to buy into, and once you have something to buy into, you can teach the X's and O's. So for us, it's about breaking us down into smaller groups or individuals, and that's the best way to teach guys. That's the best way guys learn, really, right? It's that extra attention. So for us, it's like infielders together, outfielders together, catchers with their catching coach, pitchers with the pitching coach, and we just work on things that we need to do as a group. And when we get together for team defense, we come together at once, right? And we piece everything slowly together. So we might work on bunt coverages. So we'll bring those pieces that we need for bunt coverages. Then we go PFPs. Then we'll go cutoffs. Then we'll go double cutoffs. So, like, we slowly add the pieces to the puzzle. We don't just throw everyone to the fire and say, here we go, we're doing cutoffs right now, right? So we build on it. We build the pieces together. And then for hitting, you're looking on some on-field BP, a lot of tee work with the purpose. I'm a big tee guy. Really settling our hands, getting our hands to the baseball, working inside, middle, and away. Purpose is what we focus on when we do tee work, because you do no good if you just go up there and take 100 swings and they don't mean anything. So a lot of fungos in between for BP, for infielders and outfielders. And if we're in the wintertime, it's a little different, right? Because we're in Maine, so we're in the gym, or we have a little turf room downstairs, so we get to do a lot of picks for the infielders downstairs, a lot of footwork drills. We go to an off-site facility to hit, and our pitchers will throw live to our hitters, and we got about 6 cages we can use, so we can do progressional cage work that leads up to live pitching and hitting. So we're able to utilize as much as we can, being in Maine, with being indoors and outdoors. And then, we do a lot of indie work, and being in the USCA, one of the greatest things is we can do some individualized stuff. So I have the guys, they'll set a schedule with me where they can come in and get extra ground balls, or we can get extra tee work, or we can get extra swings. So we really make that available to them, but we also put it on them to be the accountable piece as well.
Cool. I guess with my second part of that question, have you started to implement any film analysis for your players to study their swings or their pitching?
Yeah, so we're slowly starting to implement that. We're gonna more so do that this year than we did the last 2 years. I've been kind of on the fence, how far do I want to get into film analysis? I'm a big believer in like I told you, that one-on-one relationship is huge, right, for me. So for example, if I have a guy that's pulling his head off the ball and losing momentum through it, I'll explain it to him. We'll get on the tee, we'll work on it, and we'll generate a comfortability for him so he can see it and feel it. But at the same time, I also know that people can be visual learners too. So if we'll start with that step, and if they're still not getting it, then we'll go to the video part, and then we'll break it down for them. We can bring them in our conference room. We have media segments we can use to show on the board, or if we're just doing it on our cell phone, we can show it right then and there to them. We can even text it to them with a little bit of a breakdown of it. So we're slowly starting to get into it. Our pitching coach he went out and bought an iPad. He's all about it. So I'm sure we're going to end up using it more and more, but we're slowly starting to adapt to that.
What tools do you look for in your recruits, and what type of baseball player archetype fits best into Southern Maine's program?
Yeah, so for me, when I recruit, it's not about the 5-star athlete. It's about me identifying what my system is and knowing the type of players that fit my system, right? So I tell the guys all the time, I look for one thing that you do very, very well that I value, and if that fits my system, then there's a role for you in my system. Now, you might do more than one thing well and within my system to help you become successful, but I just look for that one thing. And then we generate that role for you. So, for example, I love to run. We steal a ton of bases. So if you've got some speed, there's a value there right there for me. Same thing with hitting. You can be a 400-plus hitter in high school, but if your strikeouts are racking up because you're trying to get under the ball and lift and hit home runs and be big time, that doesn't necessarily fit my system, because the way we play baseball is we just focus on hitting the ball consistently hard, right? Because this isn't the big leagues. These guys aren't fielding 990-plus percentages. In college, they're going to make mistakes. So if we work on getting our hands to the baseball and increasing hitting the ball hard, good things happen. We preach being productive. The thing I always talk to the guys about is after you're at bat, the question you need to ask yourself is, were you productive? And productivity could be a lot of things. It can be an out. An out could be productive depending on what happens in that situation. So it's about identifying the situation, the approach, and were you productive with your approach in that situation. So we really focus on just hitting the ball hard and good things would happen. So I look for a guy that consistently puts the ball in play, right? And I look for a guy that can run. And defense is huge for me. If you can go track a fly ball and get under it and probably hit your cutoff, that's a big thing for me. If you can hit a cutoff, we got something. Because a lot of guys try to show off their arms, right? And it's like, it's very fundamental for us, very short and simple. We keep the game as simple as possible for these guys because it's so complex. And if you get into that complex world of the game, you get your mindset is gone, you're mentally not into the game, and then your progression goes down. So we try to keep it as simple as possible. So we look for guys that we feel like can fit our system, fit the way we do things professionally, also the way they handle themselves. So their character is very big for us. Okay, and we go from there and see if we can mold them.
All right. What other characteristics do you look for in a recruit besides baseball ability? Are the mental and educational aspects of the player as important as the physical?
They're more important. Yeah, they're definitely more important. It's about what we teach our guys is it's about how to handle adversity, right? The game of baseball is adverse every inning, every pitch, like any situation. You got to be able to adapt, right? And we tell guys, good players, good teams know how to make adjustments because you're going to have to adjust. Like, for example, the umpire might be calling, the white part of the batter's box in the outside corner. Like, we got to adjust to that. That's adversity. We got to learn how to protect that side, right? And our pitchers need to realize, okay, he's calling that, so we're going to throw there too. Like, so it's about just constantly making adjustments. And that's why I use baseball a lot with guys with life. I tell them, like, you're going to have to make adjustments in your life. You're going to have to find ways to handle adversity. And we always talk about running through the adversity will always make you stronger than running from it. Yeah, you'll get nicked up, you'll get banged up, you might lose a couple nicks off your shoulder, a belt every now and again, but that's okay. That's just going to make you stronger. And the same thing for us. Like when we're recruiting, we want to see a guy strike out because I want to see how he reacts when he strikes out. I want to see a guy that makes the last out. How long is it going to take him to come out of the dugout? Like, I want to see when his teammate makes a mistake, what's he going to do to pick him up? When he makes a mistake, how is he handling the situation? So, and then academically, it's very important because if they don't take care of business in the classroom, I can't even put them on the baseball field. So for us, being able to have guys that you trust, that that are going to handle business in the classroom, that are going to be able to handle the adversity or at least learn how to handle those two concepts, like that, they become very coachable for us. It's the guys that think they already know it, the guys that think that they don't have to get any stronger or any better mentally, physically, or even in the classroom. Those are the guys that become uncoachable, and those are the guys that end up finding themselves, without a ball club by the end of the day.
As far as recruiting strategy, I know, Tyson Goodlett here from North Carolina just signed with you. And from some of the past conversations I've had with you, you've looked at players from Florida, California, Michigan. You're looking all over the country. Explain to me why a school from Maine would have interest in players from warmer states or different places in our country.
So here's the big thing I want you got kids, potential recruits to understand. Baseball doesn't just happen down south. It happens in the north as well, okay? And there's good baseball in the Northeast, okay? Now, I need the guys to understand something, that you, as Southern or West Coast player, you're in a pool of elite athletes, right? There's a ton of very good baseball down south, okay? But there's not enough homes down south for you guys, right? So the good players get overlooked because the elite players get swooped up first. So if you're a good player down south, that doesn't mean that there's not a home for you if you get overlooked. You just got to step outside your comfort zone and find that home. There are plenty of homes in the Northeast for Southern baseball players that want an opportunity to come in and develop and become elite. You can become elite in the Northeast but you have to step outside your comfort zone. That's the big thing. And getting some of those guys to step outside their comfort zone, as you probably know, is not always easy. But we've been fortunate enough at SMCC since I've been there to be able to get some of those guys to step outside their comfort zone and become successful. And now guys are starting to see that, so they're starting be more into stepping outside their comfort zone and giving us an opportunity.
Do you feel like the players that come from other states are more strong-minded if they do stick around?
Yeah, I when they do come here, our goal is to keep them here for 2 years. And the goal is to develop them during that period of 2 years, not just academically and athletically. Because I tell them when you come here to SMCC for 2 years, you're building a resume, right? So that resume is not only academics, but it's you as a human being, you as a teammate, you as a baseball player, right? So then that way your resume is now built. I have your resume. Now I do my job and I call other coaches and I try to sell your resume to them, right? So, and some of the first questions that these coaches ask me is not about baseball. That's the last conversation we have. We look at your numbers very last. It's about how is he academically? What kind of kid is he? What kind of a family does he come from? And if he's from down south and let's say it's a school somewhere even further north than where I am, hey, is he comfortable with staying in the north? Is he not? Like those are all, and then characteristic issues, like what kind of a human being is he? How is he on the field? Is he good guy, good teammate on the field? Is he a party animal off the field, or do I don't have to worry about him? Like these are all important questions. Then the baseball comes. Okay, now let's look at the stats. Okay, and then we go from there, right? So it's about coming here and building your resume. And for us, we get a lot of guys that come down from down south that do come and play for us. They build that resume and they're comfortable. Yeah, they get the constant complaint of, Coach, it's cold. Like we're also right on the, we're also right on the water, right? So our field is right on the water. And yes, it does get cold, but it doesn't, you're playing baseball and that's all that matters at the end of the day. And they recognize that and they say, listen, this guy gave me a chance where I had no home down south and now I'm basically an impact player as a freshman.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys don't get that opportunity to be impact players as freshmen.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So here's this is a good chance to sell the Southern Maine program. Tell us a little bit about what makes your program specifically unique and appealing to a student athlete.
Yeah. No, I mean, the biggest selling point is that I'm going to care about you. Yeah. Like I care about you as a person. And I'm a very personable coach. I'm gonna develop you as a person. I'm gonna develop you as a baseball player, and I'm gonna care about you along the way. Like I know you won't have your mom and dad on campus or your brother, sister, girlfriend, or what have you, but like you have me, and I show that by just being there. I'm at SMCC 8 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Like my office door is wide open. Like they know where I am. They can come talk to me about anything, and they do. Like they talk to me about anything, and I'm gonna ask you every day what you're doing to get better. I'm going to check in on your grades. I'm going to give you a hug when you need a hug, and I'm going to give you a hug when you don't want me to give you a hug. And I'm going to check in with you, and I'm going to, make sure that you're on the right path to be successful at SMCC. And even better is to make sure you're ready when it's time for you to move on. You're ready to move on, because when you're moving on, you're not just representing yourself and your family. You're representing SMCC, and you're representing my program that you're leaving from. So I care about you. And I care about whether your goods and I care about your bads. Like I want to help you get better. And that's the biggest thing I would say is you're not just going to be a number to me. You're a person and you have a name that was given to you and you're going to be called by that name and you're going to be respected.
I think the parents out there would appreciate that answer.